video I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm not going to do a full-on response video for reasons that hopefully I'll be talking about by the end of the month. So I'm not going to go through everybody's videos and pick one like I usually do. Instead, I am going to respond to a couple of the challenges. First, I am going to address Caleb's questions. Question number 1, something you thought was possible because you saw it in a movie. This is one of those questions where I feel like the answer should be yes, but the more I think about it, the more I come to the conclusion that I don't think there is anything. I watched a lot of cartoons and animated movies as a child, and I think I just always knew that what I was seeing on screen wasn't real. If I happen to think of anything, I'll be sure to update you. Question number 2, have you ever purposely gotten lost? The short answer is no. How can that have a long answer? I always find a way. Back in college, I was making my way to the apartment of my girlfriend at the time. I was approaching an intersection when a car pulled up to it. Now, just to give some visual, so if I'm walking along the sidewalk and a car is coming up to this intersection, what I will usually do is just turn down that road to not be in the car's way, because that's who I am as a person. I figured it would be an easy enough thing to be able to get back on track. Apparently, I was very, very wrong. To this day, I have no idea what happened, but I ended up getting pretty lost. Now, BG isn't that big of a city, and I knew it pretty well at that point, so it is still bizarre to me that I got as lost as I did. I was able to use Google Maps to get back on track, and I was way off from where I had started, and I still it's weird. I don't know how it happened. So I didn't purposely get lost, but I did purposely step off the path that I was taking. And finally, if you were to go on a road trip with your past self, which version of your past would you take? The question was worded a lot better than that, but I don't remember how it was worded. There's a Q&A that exists on YouTube between Valkyrie and Disguised Toast. One of the questions that Ray asked Toast is, what advice would you give your past self? He said he would just tell his past self to keep doing what he's doing because he doesn't want to mess up the future. I'm going to assume that me going on a road trip with my past self isn't going to severely alter the present, because if it does, then I won't go on this road trip at all. I was a very grumpy child. I didn't like being told what to do, and I didn't like being told that I was wrong, and I would have a tendency to just fully shut down if I was ever being picked on in the slightest. Like, sit down in the middle of the road, shut down. I think I would still enjoy a road trip with my younger self. I would just have to tread carefully. And I think if I were to go for a preteen version of myself, it would probably be around middle school, because I had mellowed out slightly at that point. I know you technically only asked for one option, but again, because of who I am as a person, I am going to provide 2. Because I think another version of myself that I would like to go on a road trip with is my high school self. I think teenage me was kind of an idiot, as I feel a lot of people feel about their teenage selves, but I think that we could have very meaningful and very deep conversations on our road trips. And I think it would be nice to talk to him about accepting yourself and let him know a few things that I know now, namely that asexuality is a thing, because that would have been nice to know in high school. The second and final challenge that I want to talk about today is Tessa's challenge to me specifically. The challenge being, if I could take any media and adapt it to musical, what would it be, and what would I do to adapt it? I'll be honest, it is far easier for me to choose something that I want to be a musical than for me to figure out how to adapt it. But I will do my best. I would honestly like to see Magic, the first book in the Septimus Heap series, as a musical. I know there was talk of a movie adaptation a while ago, but then Warner Brothers, the company that decided to do the movie, then decided they didn't want to, and it's been very much in the air ever since. And I would honestly like to see just some sort of adaptation of this story. As for a musical adaptation, I know one of the things that I would really like, I suppose is more of a directing thing than a writing thing, but I think it would be really cool if anytime something magical happens, the entire stage would be bathed in light green, because light green is the color of magic in this book. The musical can open with an exposition song, going from the moment when Silas discovers baby Jenna in the snow and Marcia tells him not to tell anyone that he found her, through the moment where it's revealed that Septimus Heap, Silas's newborn baby, has been declared dead, and all the way through discovering that Jenna is the princess and that the queen has been assassinated. Cut to 10 years later, and Jenna's 10th birthday, which gets interrupted by Marcia coming in and having to save her from danger. And then as they are escaping the danger, they find Boy 412 in the snow, almost an exact parallel to how Silas found Jenna in the snow 10 years earlier. I think one of the really interesting things that this musical can kind of explore are these parallels between Jenna and Boy 412. There can maybe even be a duet between the two of them, exploring what it is they want and showing just how similar they are even as they're butting heads. Boy 412 also notoriously doesn't talk to anyone throughout a lot of this book, but I think it would be interesting to hear his inner monologues as kind of a little song that only the audience can hear. I also think, like with the Percy Jackson books, a lot of the middle sections can be streamlined into a song. Because while obviously a lot of these things work for books because the pacing works better for books, musicals are a very different medium, and so those sorts of changes do have to be made. And I think also, like Percy Jackson, a lot of the more fantastical elements, and there aren't as many of them in this book as there are in later books, but there are a few things, can be kind of pared down and more left to the audience's imagination. And yeah, that's honestly all that I have about that at the current time. I think this is a story that can work on stage, and I think it would be interesting to see. So with those two challenges done and out of the way, I will see all of you tomorrow.